If you want a man to truly value you, miss you, and think about you when you're not around, it's not about begging for attention or changing who you are. Real connection comes from the way you carry yourself, the peace you bring, and the respect you have for your own heart. A woman who knows her worth doesn't chase love. She attracts it naturally. And sometimes the quiet things you do speak louder than anything you could ever say. These silent rules are not about playing games. They're about protecting your energy, loving yourself deeply, and creating a connection that feels real, safe, and unforgettable. One of the biggest mistakes many women make in relationships is spending too much time trying to prove their value to someone who should already see it. When a woman constantly feels the need to explain why she deserves love, respect, honesty, or effort, she slowly starts giving away pieces of her confidence without even realizing it. Love was never meant to feel like an interview where you have to convince someone to choose you over and over again. Real love notices your worth naturally. It sees your heart, your effort, your loyalty, your softness, and your presence without needing a full explanation every single day. A woman loses herself the moment she starts overperforming just to feel appreciated. You should never feel like you have to exhaust yourself emotionally to earn basic treatment. If you are always reminding someone how much you care, how loyal you are, how much you sacrifice, or how deeply you love, eventually it becomes painful because the relationship starts feeling one-sided. The sad truth is this: people who truly value you usually don't need constant reminders. They pay attention. They notice the small things. They recognize your energy without needing a speech about it. There's a quiet confidence in a woman who knows her worth. She doesn't walk into a room begging to be chosen. She doesn't force people to understand her value. She simply carries herself with self-respect, and that energy speaks before she even opens her mouth. That kind of confidence is powerful because it comes from within, not from outside validation. A woman who knows her worth understands that love should feel mutual, not forced. Sometimes women stay in situations where they are constantly overlooked because they believe if they love harder, give more, stay patient longer, or sacrifice enough, things will eventually change. But love cannot grow properly where appreciation is missing. You can pour your heart into someone every day, and if they don't value what you bring, they will still treat you casually. It's painful, but it's true. Effort alone cannot make someone emotionally mature enough to appreciate you. And the dangerous part is that many women start blaming themselves for the lack of love they receive. They begin questioning their appearance, their personality, their voice, their emotions, and even their kindness. They wonder if they are too emotional, too caring, or too much. But the truth is, the problem is not always your heart. Sometimes you are simply giving the right love to the wrong person. There's a huge difference between being unworthy and being unappreciated. Never confuse the two. You should never have to beg someone to communicate with you properly. You should never have to beg for consistency. You should never feel guilty for wanting reassurance, respect, honesty, or effort. Those are normal emotional needs in a healthy relationship. The problem begins when a woman lowers her standards so much that she starts celebrating the bare minimum. A text message becomes enough to keep her holding on. A little attention after days of neglect suddenly feels special. One sweet moment makes her ignore 10 painful ones. That is how emotional exhaustion begins. A woman who understands her value stops chasing temporary validation. She stops trying to compete for love. She stops forcing herself into places where she constantly feels unwanted or emotionally drained. Instead, she chooses peace, and peace is powerful. There is nothing more attractive than a woman who no longer begs for attention because she finally understands that her worth is not connected to someone else's inability to recognize it. People will only treat you the way you allow them to. If you continuously accept disrespect while hoping someone will eventually change, you silently teach them that your boundaries are flexible. And once people realize they can hurt you without consequences, many of them will continue doing it. That's why self-respect matters so much. Self-respect is not arrogance. It's understanding that your heart deserves care too. A strong woman is not the woman who tolerates the most pain. A strong woman is the one who knows when enough is enough. She knows when to stop over-explaining herself. She knows when to walk away from emotional confusion. She knows that being alone is far better than feeling lonely beside someone who barely values her presence. That realization changes everything. The truth is, love should add peace to your life, not constant anxiety. You shouldn't spend every night overthinking where you stand with someone. You shouldn't constantly wonder why your effort isn't being matched. You shouldn't have to earn affection through suffering. Healthy love feels safe. It feels balanced. It feels honest. When a woman finally experiences that kind of connection, she realizes how exhausting it was to keep proving herself in the wrong situations. There comes a point where a woman must stop asking, how can I make him see my value? And start asking, why am I staying where my value is ignored? That question changes everything because it shifts the focus back to self-worth. The goal should never be to force someone to love you correctly. The goal is to recognize when you deserve better and have the courage to choose yourself. And choosing yourself is not selfish. It's necessary. Too many women abandon their own emotional needs while trying to save relationships that continuously hurt them. They become so focused on keeping someone else happy that they completely lose connection with themselves. But the moment a woman reconnects with her confidence, her standards, and her self-respect, everything around her changes. She no longer tolerates inconsistency. She no longer chases half-hearted love. She no longer accepts crumbs while pretending she's satisfied. The right person will never make you feel like loving you is a burden. They will not make you beg for clarity, affection, or effort. They will appreciate your presence naturally because real love sees value without constant explanation. And until that kind of love arrives, never reduce yourself just to keep someone interested. Never shrink your standards to avoid being alone. Never forget your worth simply because someone else failed to recognize it. The moment you stop explaining your worth is the moment you start protecting your peace. And peace will always be more valuable than forcing yourself to fit into a love that was never healthy for your heart in the first place. One thing many women don't realize is that always being available can slowly make people take their presence for granted. When you answer every call immediately, reply to every message within seconds, cancel your own plans just to make someone else comfortable, and constantly make yourself emotionally accessible no matter how tired you are, you unintentionally teach people that they never have to truly work to keep you in their life. And over time, that imbalance can create emotional distance instead of closeness. There's nothing wrong with loving deeply. There's nothing wrong with caring about someone and wanting to be there for them. But when your entire world starts revolving around one person, you slowly lose the mystery, independence, and self-respect that make a connection healthy in the first place. A relationship should add happiness to your life, not become your entire identity. The strongest connections are built between two complete people, not one person constantly sacrificing themselves to hold everything together. A woman should never feel guilty for having her own life. Spend time with your family. Focus on your goals. Protect your peace. Enjoy your hobbies. Go outside. Laugh with your friends. Build a life that makes you happy, even when nobody is texting you. Because the truth is, the more connected you are to yourself, the healthier your relationships become. A woman who has purpose, balance, and self-respect carries a different kind of energy. She doesn't cling emotionally because she knows her happiness does not depend on constant attention. Sometimes silence creates more emotional impact than nonstop communication ever could. When you step back and focus on yourself, people begin to feel your absence. They notice the quiet, they notice the space you used to fill. And if someone genuinely cares about you, distance won't push them away. It will pull them closer. Healthy love does not disappear simply because you took time for yourself. In fact, mature love grows stronger when both people have room to breathe. Many women fear that if they stop giving constant attention, the person they love will lose interest. That fear often comes from insecurity or past heartbreak, so they overcompensate. They text first every time. They carry every conversation. They constantly check in. They become emotionally available 24/7 because they believe that's what keeps love alive. But real connection should never feel like emotional maintenance work done by one person alone. You should never have to exhaust yourself just to keep someone emotionally connected to you. If the relationship only survives when you are constantly chasing, fixing, checking, reassuring, and holding it together, then the problem is not your effort. The problem is the imbalance. Relationships are supposed to feel mutual. Both people should naturally want to show up for each other. There's power in allowing someone the chance to miss you, not as a game, not as manipulation, but as a reminder that your presence matters too. When you are constantly available, some people stop appreciating the comfort you bring because they assume you'll always be there no matter how little effort they give. But when you start pouring energy back into yourself, everything shifts. You become calmer, more confident, more emotionally attractive because your life is no longer centered around chasing validation. A peaceful woman is unforgettable. A woman who can love deeply without losing herself leaves a lasting impact. She doesn't pressure people for attention because she understands her value. She knows that love should flow naturally, not feel forced. And because she respects herself, others begin respecting her too. Too many women stay emotionally overextended, trying to hold on to relationships that are already draining them. They ignore exhaustion. They ignore anxiety. They ignore the fact that they are carrying the emotional weight of two people. And eventually they become tired, not because they love too much, but because they love someone who gave them too little in return. Sometimes the best thing a woman can do is become unavailable for the things that damage her peace. Stop over-explaining. Stop chasing conversations that feel one-sided. Stop forcing emotional closeness with people who only give attention when it benefits them. Your energy is precious. Your time matters. And the right person will never require you to abandon yourself just to feel loved. There's also something important about emotional independence that many people misunderstand. Being independent does not mean acting cold or pretending you don't care. It means knowing how to care without losing yourself in the process. It means understanding that your life still has meaning, beauty, and purpose outside of one relationship. That kind of mindset protects your heart from becoming emotionally dependent on inconsistent behavior. A woman who constantly waits by her phone for someone else's attention slowly gives away her power. Her mood depends on replies. Her happiness depends on effort. Her peace depends on someone else's consistency. But the moment she reconnects with herself, she becomes emotionally stronger. She no longer panics over temporary silence. She no longer begs for time. She no longer loses sleep trying to understand mixed signals. And the truth is, when someone truly values you, they will make the effort to stay connected. You won't have to force your way into their life. They will think about you naturally. They will reach out willingly. They will protect the connection because your absence genuinely affects them. Never be afraid to step back and pour love into yourself. Never feel guilty for protecting your energy. The right relationship will never punish you for having boundaries, goals, peace, or a life outside of them. In fact, healthy love grows best when two people can stand strong on their own while still choosing each other every day. And sometimes the moment you stop making someone your entire world is the exact moment they finally realize how valuable your presence truly is. One of the most painful things a woman can experience is giving her heart completely to someone who only offers love when it's convenient for them. At first, she tells herself to be patient. She believes maybe they are busy, maybe they are stressed, maybe they just need time to learn how to love properly. So she keeps understanding, keeps forgiving, keeps waiting, and keeps lowering her expectations little by little until she no longer realizes how much she is settling for. What once felt unacceptable slowly becomes normal. And that is how many women end up begging for the bare minimum without even noticing it. Love should never make you feel unwanted. You should not have to constantly ask someone to text you back, spend time with you, communicate honestly, or treat you with respect. Those things are not special favors in a relationship. They are the foundation. The bare minimum is not something you should feel grateful for every single time it appears. Yet many women stay emotionally attached to small moments of attention because they are starving for consistency. Man sending one sweet message after ignoring you for days is not emotional security. Someone finally giving you attention only after you pull away is not healthy love. Apologizing repeatedly without changing behavior is not growth. Real love is consistent. It is steady. It doesn't leave you emotionally confused all the time. The problem is that when a woman loves deeply, she often focuses more on potential than reality. She falls in love with who someone could become instead of paying attention to who they are right now. She keeps holding on to hope because she remembers the good moments, the promises, the chemistry, or the emotional connection they once shared. But hope can become dangerous when it keeps you trapped in emotional pain. You cannot build a healthy relationship by surviving on temporary affection. Love should not feel like emotional breadcrumbs that keep you hanging on. You deserve more than random moments of attention mixed with long periods of confusion, distance, or neglect. A relationship should bring peace into your life, not constant emotional instability. Many women stay in painful situations because they are afraid to lose the person they love. They fear loneliness. They fear starting over. They fear that if they walk away, they may never find that connection again. So instead of leaving, they tolerate behavior that slowly breaks their confidence. They become quieter about their needs. They stop speaking up when something hurts them because they don't want to seem difficult. And eventually, they begin accepting less than they deserve just to keep the relationship alive. But a relationship that only survives when you ignore your own emotional needs is not healthy love. You should never have to betray yourself just to keep someone around. The right person will never make you feel guilty for wanting effort, communication, reassurance, honesty, or respect. Those are not unrealistic expectations. Those are emotional necessities. There is a huge difference between being patient and settling. Patience means giving someone room to grow while they consistently show effort. Settling means accepting repeated disappointment while hoping things magically change one day. And too many women confuse the two because they love with their whole heart. Sometimes women become so focused on keeping someone else happy that they completely abandon themselves in the process. They become emotionally exhausted trying to fix problems they didn't create. They overthink every conversation. They blame themselves for someone else's lack of effort. They start questioning whether they are pretty enough, calm enough, understanding enough, or lovable enough. But love should never make you feel like you have to compete for basic care. One woman who knows her worth understands something powerful. Attention is not the same as intention. Someone can text you every day and still not value you properly. Someone can say beautiful words and still fail to give you emotional security. Actions always reveal the truth louder than promises ever will. That's why paying attention to consistency matters so much. Anyone can be loving during good moments. Anyone can say the right things when they feel like losing you. But true character shows in patterns, not temporary emotions. Does this person respect you consistently? Do they communicate honestly? Do they make you feel emotionally safe? Do they show effort without being forced? Those questions matter more than empty promises. You should never beg someone to choose you properly. The moment you have to convince someone to treat you with care, the relationship already becomes emotionally unhealthy. Love should feel mutual. It should feel balanced. You should not constantly feel anxious about where you stand. And one of the saddest things is that many women stay because they think loving harder will eventually change everything. They believe if they become more understanding, more patient, more forgiving, then finally they will receive the love they deserve. But you cannot heal inconsistency by overloving someone. You cannot force emotional maturity out of a person who refuses to grow. At some point, a woman must decide that her peace matters too. She must stop romanticizing struggle and start recognizing her own value again. She must understand that being alone is far less painful than constantly feeling neglected by someone standing right beside her. Solitude may feel uncomfortable for a season, but emotional disrespect damages the heart much deeper over time. The strongest women are not the ones who tolerate endless pain in silence. The strongest women are the ones who finally say, I deserve more than this. They stop accepting half-hearted love. They stop chasing inconsistent attention. They stop making excuses for behavior that repeatedly hurts them. And the moment a woman truly understands her worth, everything changes.